Hello everyone, this is LW Gaming and welcome to a returning installment, I should say a brand new installment for the global version. We're going to talk about the next major update that will be coming up to global very soon, in about 2 weeks from now. By the time this releases, it should be arriving in a few days. I'm recording this in advance as usual. Today it is the 16th of October. This one is planning to be released a couple of days before the official launch of Fairy Tail Collab. So right now we're going to be talking about the 3 new characters that will be coming to the game, or I should say 3 new heroes coming to Langrisser mobile in a few days, featuring 3 characters from Fairy Tail. So let's get right into it. The first one we're going to talk about is Lucy. Yep, she's one of the first characters that I'll be talking about first, of course. And the factions, she's part of protagonist, which makes sense because Lucy is an important character from Fairy Tail, of course. And she's part of Princess Alliance, although she kind of does act like a princess in the anime itself. And Heroes of Time as the other faction which makes sense because she is, of course, from a different dimension, which I mentioned already. She's from Fairy Tail. So all collab characters in general always have Time faction on there. And also the class she has is only one class, which is the mage, which makes sense because she is a mage herself in the mainline series, of course. And the info I'm going to talk about here are already in my personal Discord server, known as Langwiki. So if you haven't joined that Discord server, please join it, so that we can see what's going to come in the future for Langrisser. And before I even mention about them, of course, mention about them in the secondary episode for those. Okay, let's move back to the topic about Lucy's talent. So Lucy's talent is called Celestial Spirit Magic, which increases her int by 10 to 20% based on star level. When Lucy or her Celestial Spirit use AoE skills, they can target any block within range. If the skill deals damage, it applies star to all enemies hit. Upon entering combat, it applies moon to the enemy. So yep, basically you'll get one of those two if you end up getting them. So you apply stars to enemies that you hit, but also if you upon entering combat, you'll apply moon to the enemy. And these two are very important. So enemies affected by both star and moon suffer all stats except HP of -5 to 15% when battling Lucy or her Celestial Spirit. Although the wording in this talent is kind of vague, just by how it sounds, but we'll get the official info when it comes to the game officially. Excuse me. And let's talk about what those debuffs are, because Star and Moon are entirely unique on Lucy. So Star, like a unit, can be targeted by Lucy or her Celestial Spirit skills from within 6 tiles, and ranged soldiers will also attack. So essentially, if the enemy is marked with Star debuff on them, she's gonna be able to treat them as if it's within her range, which sounds pretty scary if you think about it, because Lucy can just AoE you from 6 tiles away if she's close enough, that is. And then the Moon debuff is something you need to be aware of, because when damaged by an active attack from Lucy or her Celestial Spirit, all allies within run ring around the target take fixed damage, equal to 1 times of Lucy's int. So yeah, watch out for that as well. So Star and Moon cannot be dispelled, and they will ignore immunity, and this will last for 2 turns. So basically, if you have someone like Ilya or Rosensteel, they really cannot cancel those effects, because they will just go right past it, and then you cannot dispel it either, so don't try to fight it off. Next up, let's talk about her skills. So I had to condense this info down a bit because quite a lot. Because there's so much stuff that Lucy has. I'm not joking. She has a lot of skills, and each of them has a lot of different functionalities based on what summons she has. So the Celestial Spirits are basically the 3 that are also from Fairy Tail. So she has 3 currently in her kit: Aquarius, Leo, and Aries. Aquarius is the water god, or water spirit, I should say. Anyways, her 1C skill called Celestial Spirit Summon is a 3-turn cooldown, self-cast, and a single target, and this applies to all the summons, by the way. And this will summon one of the 3 Celestial Spirits, and you cannot have more than one coexisting at a time. There can only be one on the field at a time. So think wisely who you should summon. So Aquarius, basically her capability is that she can teleport enemies, and she can AoE them, and also curse them with water terrain effect. So basically, she's gonna be like a setup for Lemia against like certain teams in PvP, like tank push, which honestly tank push is kind of dead in the current meta. So having Aquarius in there, it really is gonna put a gravestone on top of the tank push, because like tank push is not gonna sustain as much as they used to anymore. But of course, they may bring it back by introducing a unit that can negate that. But right now, it seems like the tank push is kind of in a rough spot. However, if you chose a Celestial Spirit like Leo, for example, it's a single target base attack. So this will attack one enemy. This will remove 3 buffs, kind of like a mini Sword Soul, kind of like that one, but minus the heal block. Yeah, it doesn't do that, but all it does is remove 3 buffs, which is good enough. Can hit the enemy hero directly if foe has Moon. So that's another thing about Moon debuff. So if they have Moon on them, if you have Leo as a spirit on there, you will be able to hit the enemy hero directly. So it's think of Leo as Tiana, but much more terrifying, because the multiplier is also no joke. I think it's like 1.3 or 1. I think it's 1.6. Let me check just to confirm. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. It is confirmed that it is 1.6 a multiplier. So yeah, that is no joke. So if you get hit by it, pray that you can survive. Otherwise, you'll be dead. And if you end up summoning the third option, which is Ares, I didn't tell you pronounce her name. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it, because I haven't been watching Fairy Tail for a long time. Though I did watch Fairy Tail in the past, but I have not watched again as of recently. Although I could, but right now I just didn't have time for it. So if you chose that one over the other 2, she does AoE damage against enemies, and it will deal fixed damage afterwards against non-female units. Not like that. I mean, it will deal fixed damage no matter who it is. But however, if you're fighting against enemies that are non-females, they are going to be afflicted with silence. So, yep, that is pretty strong for an AoE. So, yeah, think of this like Sagani, but much terrifying to face. Because like they both does silence, which is pretty nuts. And if you don't have anybody that can prevent that from like silencing your units, then good luck, because you're not going to be able to do much. But fortunately, most of the meta units are probably female, so you're not going to get as much of a dent in there as you thought it would be, because all it does is that it silences non-female units. So most of the time, if you have male units on your team, good luck for them, because they are probably going to get silenced unless you have something that can stop it. But other than that, Ares is a nice thing, but however, if the whole team's females, you can't really silence them. So she's not really that strong as Sagani, as I mentioned. So yeah, forget about what I said earlier. But it's still good though. But it's just that you need to be aware of who you're fighting against. I mean, most of the units she can try to silence, but yeah, like I mentioned earlier, if the opponent is like female or something, is like female at all, she's not gonna be able to silence them whatsoever. Next up we got is Star River, which is her 2C skill. This one does 1.5 times damage to a single enemy. This attack ignores guard. When battling an enemy affected by Star, before combat, all other enemies within 1 ring of that target are inflicted with Moon. So that's a simple 2C skill that can ignore guard no matter what. And it will inflict, and the enemies that are afflicted by Star already, before battle, she's going to inflict them with Moon. Like for all other enemies within 1 ring of it. They will have moon on there, which will allow you to be able to hit the targets much easier. And also Lucy has the Celestial Spirit attire, which is her transforming skill. She can transform into one of the three that I mentioned earlier, the same forms that I mentioned in the other 1C. Aquarius form, Leo form, and Aries. So in the Aquarius form, it doesn't really summon the corresponding spirit because the game designed like basically if you have both of them, it will be too strong. So they decided, you know what, maybe for Aquarius case, she won't get a summon at all. But for Leo and Aries, they're both going to have their spirits summon alongside her when she enters her celestial form. So if you chose Aquarius, she's going to be able to move easier in water by negating one block of ability. Foes in water takes 20% more damage against Lucy, of course. And then the self-act again afterwards with move +2 after activating that, which is a nice thing. And then for Leo, Leo's most of the act against skills that I mentioned earlier, like most of them nowadays, they don't really drain your duration of the buffs that you have. So you don't have to worry about that if you have like a self act again, because most of the modern ones we have today don't usually drain your turn. So don't worry about that. And then if you chose Leo form, you'll have Leo fighting alongside you, but with the Leo's transformation as well. Basically, it's a single target based once again for this one. And also when you're entering battle, you will strike first before the enemy, and as long as they have moon on them as well. And then if they have moon, you're going to deal 20% more damage, which hits pretty hard. And if you chose the third form, which is Aries form, both Lucy and Spirit applies one random debuff on foes after attacking, and this will ignore immunity. So if you have someone like Ilya or Rosensteel, they won't be able to help you out to negate that. So, yep, Ari's form is actually pretty good of like dishing out debuffs, ignoring the Axiom or Rosensteel's Crystal Barrier. Next up, let's talk about the 3C skill that she has. And I had to for Lucy's occasion, I had to do 2 pages for the skills because her description is ridiculously long, and I apologize because the Zelon sometimes likes to go overboard with like some of those stuff being too long on the description. So I try my best to like shorten it as much as possible. So anyways, this is her 3C skill. It's called Chronicles of the Star Map. It's a 5-turn cooldown, 3 blocks range, and a 4 blocks AoE. And the passive part of this skill is that damage dealt by Lucy and Celestial Spirits to enemies with Star or Moon is increased by 15%. Pretty straightforward, and it does a lot, and which will increases their damage really nicely. And this does magic damage, deals 0.36 times AoE damage to all enemies within 4 blocks radius, and additionally applies Moon to all enemies hit. If Lucy has any Celestial Spirit skills, after using this skill, Lucy loses her current Celestial Spirit skill, and the cooldown of this skill and all Celestial Spirit skills are reduced by 3 turns. Man, pretty mouthful there, but anyways, as long as like if she has like any of the skills that from Celestial powers, she's gonna lose that, and then the cooldown of the 3C is reduced by 3 turns, alongside with the Celestial Spirit skills. So yeah, which is a nice upgrade. So basically, you can reset yourself, and then you can summon a new form again if you choose to. A nice change. Alright, let's move on to the next thing, which is the bonds. And by the way, all the bonds I'm going to mention here, they don't really need each other for bonds or other people for bonds. So anyways, for bonds, she does not need anyone for bonds, and she is not needed for others' bonds. But however, if you want to get their bonds unlocked, each of them will need like a 1 arena win, attack bond from their final class upgrade. So I'm just gonna say all that, but if I get like a bonds again, so I'm just gonna skip it because we don't necessarily need to explain that again. As for the uses, she is great at PvE that helps clear content with her unique summons and abilities, like both AoE and single target capabilities. And for PvP, she of course is an excellent addition for rush boxes, specifically for AoE users, or depending on which kind of unit you're running with. Like she's great in both ways. She can go well with AoEs most of the time, but she can also be dangerous as a single target unit too. So basically, she is flexible. And is she worth it? I would say a hard yes because she's a limited time after all, and she's not going to be coming back in the future unless she gets a rerun. That is, unless Fairy Tail collab got rerun. But you guys know what's the possibility of that happening, right? It's actually extremely low. So we're not too sure if they're going to bring back Fairy Tail in the future. But right now, it doesn't seem like reruns are in the air, which is sad to know. That's a sad reality for Zilong games and in the community. And anyways, and also she's an excellent addition to your AoE options if you need additional AoEs aside from Rhea that we got from last month. And if you're a fan of Fairy Tail or a collector, you might as well just get her because she's nice to have and she's limited. So get her as soon as possible when her banner goes live. And let's talk about the other banner mate that is on the same banner as Lucy, and that character is Erza. I believe a lot of people are a fan of Erza because she is excellent addition for the collab, and I myself included do like Erza. So anyways, this is Erza, and her factions are Legion of Glory, Princess Alliance, and Heroes of Time. And the faction choices, it makes sense because Erza fight for justice, and that falls under the category of glory, or Legion of Glory, I should say. And she herself is kind of like an empress-like character, so she is a princess after all. Like she's from the royal, I believe. But anyways, and also time makes sense because she's from a different world. And the class she has is only one class, which is the infantry class. Makes sense because she holds a sword or wields a sword. And the talent that she has is Fairy Queen. Although yes, I did translate these accordingly and also try to get as close to the Fairy Tail lore as possible within the translation, of course. Anyways, what this talent does is that it increases the damage dealt of 15 to 30% based on star level, and mobility is increased by 1 to 2, and then attack is increased by 5 to 10%. Which is these are nice buffs. So yep. For every one more enemy unit than ally unit on the field, this effect is increased by 1 times, and this can be increased up to max of 3 times. After initiating combat, if the number of enemies are equal to or less than the number of allies, Erza gains an extra action with remaining mobility. This effect can only be triggered once every 5 to 3 turns, based on star level. At the start of the map, Erza gains a buff, which cannot be killed in one hit, and this will restore 20% of her max HP. Each time Erza actively eliminates an enemy, she gains an additional stack of revive effect. This effect can stack up to 2 times. It cannot be immunized against or dispelled. So yeah, there you have it right there. So as long as she's killing enemies like she should be, she's gonna be able to stay on the field longer than normal. So whenever you see her on the field, watch out. Do not feed her kills, otherwise she's gonna stay longer. Honestly, no one want to feed her kills because that's stupid to think about. Okay, next up, let's talk about her skills. Fortunately, her description isn't as long as Lucy's because Lucy's a nightmare to get all that together. But fortunately for Erza, she's not like that. So let's get right into it. So the 1C skill she comes with is Armor Shift, Celestial Wheel Armor. It's a 4-turn cooldown, self-cast, single target, and this is a transform skill which is also treated as an active skill, I believe. And this will allow her to equip the Celestial Wheel Armor, which will make whenever she moves anywhere, whenever she's moving, she treats every terrain as plains, as long as it's traversable. After taking each action and before actively entering battle, gains 1 stack of undispellable magic sword. And this one basically what it does is that after dealing damage by initiating combat, for each enemy unit within 2 blocks of the defeated target, eliminates 1 soldier. And each magic soldier, each magic sword eliminates 1 soldier. So yep, what that means is that, like, based on the amount of stacks you have, like, you can have up to 5, and then that means if you're able to kill the enemy while with this form on, you're gonna delete 5 of their soldiers, which is half of their forces, which is pretty nuts if you to think about. And this will be removed upon losing the armor, so keep that in mind. Gain 1 additional stack of magic sword if within the enemy's threat range, which is of course danger zone, up to a max of 5. And this can stay there for 3 turns, and this cannot be immunized or dispelled. After use, the current buff duration are not reduced, and Erza can act again. The mobility of this action is remaining mobility plus 2. So this is like a transform skill as well as self-act again, essentially. So if you're able to get like 5 stacks of the magic sword that I mentioned here, you're pretty much good to go with the damage, because you're gonna be able to like kill enemies, and then enemies that are near the target that you killed loses 5 of their soldiers, which is absolutely crazy. And then next up we got a Celestial Wheel, Whirling Chaos Sword, which is a 2-turn cooldown, 2 blocks, and it's a single target attack. And this will attack 1 enemy, dealing 1.5 times damage. Before combat, reduces the enemy's attack and int by 25% for 2 turns. If Erza has any magic sword stacks, deal 0.5 times fixed damage equal to 1 times of Erza's attack before combat. For each additional magic sword, the multiplier increases by 0.5 times. Melee soldiers will also attack. This skill ignores melee damage penalty. So this is like a mix of air slash and a lot of crazy things in there. So as long as she has like any magic sword stacks, for each of those stacks, I believe you'll increase hold on, let's see what it says. It increases the multiplier of the attack by half times, of course. But as long as you have any of the stacks here, like you deal fixed damage on top of that, which is nuts. And now let's talk about her 3C. There's 2 forms actually, but the first one is her initial skill. But then once you use it, she's gonna switch to her second skill permanently. So let's see what this does. So the passive skill on here is that when an ally dies, dispels 2 debuffs from self and reduces this skill's cooldown by 5 turns. And then the physical damage, what it does is that Erza will abandon her armor form and equip the demonic blade, Crimson Sakura. Then attacks a single enemy, dealing 1.7 times damage. Before combat, dispels 3 buffs from the enemy. If the number of enemies on the field is greater than allies, the enemies can't trigger revive effects in combat. This effect applies only in PvP modes. After use, this skill is replaced with Crimson Sakura Slash and can be used immediately, which is a big yikes there. And also, you can choose to use that skill after using it, of course. So let's talk about what Crimson Sakura Slash does. So this is a 0-turn cooldown, 1 block, and it's a single target. So I'm not sure how this skill works, so it could go either way. It may switch back after use, so keep that in mind. And this will attack a single enemy, dealing 1.4 times damage. Before actively attacking, Erza's defense is reduced by 30%, and her HP is restored by 30%. And she will attack first during combat. Ignores 30% of enemy's defense, dispels 1 enemy buff, and for each 1 more enemy than allies on the field, all effects, excluding defense reduction effects, are doubled, up to a max of 3 times. So yeah, this skill is no joke. Like, once you enter her Crimson Sakura form, she's gonna get this skill, and then she's gonna do a lot of dirty work on the field. So if you ever see Erza on the field, prepare to face her wrath, because she is absolutely crazy. but not as crazy as Dragon Slayer. But she's someone you need to watch out for because she can disable Dragon Slayers, which is pretty nuts. She can disable Dragon Slayers revives, and then she can just take him out like there's no tomorrow. And however, the only thing that this could occur is that if Erza is fighting at a outnumbered situation. So if Erza's team is like less than the enemies, she's gonna be able to pull it off. So yeah, even though if the opponent has disadvantage, Erza is just gonna make things much terrifying for you because she kind of has like a thing like something like a revenge mechanic built into her kit, something like that. So the more like the if your team ends up feeling like it's on a losing state, Erza never gives up, and she's going to do whatever she can to turn the tide of battle. So that's essentially what that was. And also for Bonds, like I mentioned with Lucy, it's the same deal. So we're gonna skip forward for that one. And the uses she has is that she's a decent bruiser unit that can get the job done in PvE. And for PvP, she is excellent for any box comp. Her key role is to be outnumbered and bust enemies with revives. And she herself gains a revive on each kill. And this can be gained up to 2 times, and like I mentioned earlier in her talent, there's no limit of how many times she can regain her revives. So yeah, but as long as she can, but however she can only stack up to 2 times just for balancing sake. And is she worth pulling for? Of course, just like Lucy is a hard yes. And she's a limited collab just like Lucy, and it may not return in the future unless it gets a rerun, which the chance of that happening is very low, or I should say extremely low. And she's an excellent addition to your revive buster option. On top of like Z2, Ymir, anybody that can revive disable. Even like some of the past units too, like Ryo Sanada. I believe there's also like Broken Wing Bird or Hibiscus. Yeah, all that units. And also even Gaze. They can do the same thing as well. And if you're a fan of Fairy Tail or a collector, Erza is excellent to pick up. Now let's move on to the next character, which is going to be someone everyone can get for free, of course. And that character is none other than Natsu. Yep, she is. Not she. Is a he. He is going to be a free unit in the event, and also Natsu has a partner named Happy. Yep. Even though in this game's data it just say Natsu because Natsu is the main character of this duo. So anyways, the factions he's part of are Protagonists, Less Legends, and Heroes of Time. And for the very first time, Natsu is a dragon unit. That is a freebie. Yeah, how great is that? Like we haven't had a free dragon for a while now until right now with the event going on, like with a free Natsu. So yep, he's gonna be an excellent addition to the team. It's gonna be great. And then for the talent, Natsu has is that it's gonna be similar to Isolde's talent, but it is slightly different here. So let's talk about what's different about this. So attack and defense increased by 8 to 20%, and the effect will be doubled when fighting against dragon foes. Yeah, that's the first part where it's similar to Isolde. They both are dragon busters, or I should say dragon slayers. I mean, of themselves, despite themselves being a dragon. When initiating combat or when an ally is attacked and enters combat, gains 1 stack of Flame of Emotion, which will increase its damage dealt by 5% for 6 turns, and this can be stacked up to 4 times. Not 4 times, up to 6 times I mean, which cannot be dispelled. If you have at least 3 stacks of Flame of Emotion, restores HP equal to 30% of damage dealt when initiating combat. That itself sounds pretty nuts. For a free unit, mind you. Now let's talk about his like skills, like unique skills that he comes with. I should probably stop saying she or her because Natsu's a guy. Like I can't mistaken that because like most of the characters that we care about in Langrisser as a whole are all females. And I kind of got in the curse of like considering Natsu as a she for some reason. But anyways, Natsu is a guy. So anyways, let's talk about his skills right now. So one C skill called Dragon Fang Slash, which will attack one enemy, and is a 2-turn cooldown, 1 block, and it's a single target. And this one deals 1.4 times multiplier damage. If this attack kills the enemy, the skill's cooldown is reduced by 1 turn. If Natsu has at least 3 stacks of Flame of Emotion, the enemy cannot counterattack during the combat. And that is nuts. Like this one reminds me of Isolde's 3C. So as long as you have 2 will on her, she's going to make the opponent not able to counter. This is the same deal, but as long as you have 3 stacks of the Flames of Emotion, your opponent is not going to fight back with this skill, which makes it so strong for a free unit. And now let's move on to the next skill, which is a 2C skill called End Mode. But it may not be called like that in the game, but I mean that's what I got from the translation from ChatGPT, of course. And this is a transforming skill, a free transforming skill for Natsu. Jeez. And actively used to gain 3 stacks of Flame of Motion and enter End Mode, and which will increases the damage dealt by 20%. However, when you transform into this mode, Natsu is going to become a demon for 3 turns. When initiating an attack and killing an enemy, if Natsu have at least like 5 stacks of Flame of Motion, he can act again, and the trigger cooldown on this thing is that this can be triggered again after 2 turns. While in End Mode, killing 1 enemy or the death of 1 ally extends End Mode duration by 1 turn. For each additional turn of End Mode duration, before initiating combat, dispels 1 enemy buffs, which can be increased up to 3 buffs. And when End Mode ends, gains Dragon Power Exhaustion, which will reduce his mobility by 2 turns for 1. Reduce his mobility by 2 for 1 turn. It's kind of like a similar deal to like after you revert back to your original form, like such as Rain or Yusuke Urameshi. They both have penalties applied after they transform back to the original form. For Natsu's case, it's pretty bad because you're not going to be able to move as far as you normally would, which means that you can only move up to 1 block if you don't have anything like Breeze to counteract against it. And this one, End Mode cannot be dispelled or immunized. After using the skill, the duration of your buffs will not decrease at the end of your turn, which is good to note. And there's a 3C skill. It's called Roar of the Flame Dragon King. And what this does is there's a passive in here. It's like, while in Flame Dragon King's domain, damage taken is reduced by 20%, and Natsu's damage skill range is increased by 1. So yeah, that's actually pretty nuts for Natsu's passive. So as long as he's within his like domain, his special terrain on there, he's gonna be able to take less damage, and also his skill range is increased by 1. So he can treat all his skills as a range skill if he likes. And now let's talk about the main part of the skill. This one does single target damage, dealing 1.8 times damage. If Natsu has at least 4 stacks of Flame of Emotion, he will attack first in combat. If Natsu is in End Mode, after combat, the terrain with 2 blocks around the target gains a special effect called Flame Dragon King's Domain for 2 turns. When an enemy moves onto this terrain, at the end of their action, they take fixed damage equal to 1 times of Natsu's attack, and the damage taken is increased by 15% if they're attacked by Natsu. And this can be stacked up to 2 times, and this will last for 2 turns. This effect cannot be immunized or dispelled. So basically, if you have someone like Enya, for example, try to erase those terrains, well, sadly for her, it's not going to erase them because it says cannot be dispelled whatsoever. Well, actually no, it was not the terrain. It was a debuff that you get on. So you can still erase it. So forget about what I said about the erasing tiles thing, because you can still do that, but the debuffs that were applied to them already cannot be removed. Okay, and now for bonds, I'm not gonna repeat it again because just like the other 2 units, I mean he's not summonable anyways, but he does not need anyone for bonds. And for the defense bond, Arena Win, Attack bond, final class upgrade. And by the way, the AI Arena wins. This can also be done through the, I believe from World Arena too, but I think it's just AI Arena. I'm pretty sure. I kind of mistaken that mission as the daily mission, but anyways, AI Arena win. You just need it for defense bond. All these units does because they only have one class. As for the uses, even though okay, there's something wrong with the wording here. I'm gonna fix that. Be right back. Alright, I'm back and I fixed it. So anyways, for uses PvE, he is a decent bruiser unit just like Erza. And he'll get a job done. No surprise there because PvE isn't like PvP because you can basically use anyone you want in general. As for PvP, he is good, but not crazy. You need to be aware of his end form as he will be weak against holy enemies, which is self-explanatory because he'll be a demon in that form. So anybody that has like a holy class on there, he's gonna get crushed by those units. But however, if you have gaze on your team, you should be fine with this because you can force the enemies to like not be holy just by inflicting them into something else, like a demon or other classes besides holy. Anyways, in that kind of case, Natsu should be okay for the time being, as long as you have gaze on your team. And is he worth it? I mean, of course he's worth it because, I mean, he's free. You don't need to do any efforts just to get this guy. I mean, if you wanted to skip him for some reason, I would say what a missed opportunity because he is a free unit to get after all. To just collect him. So yeah, once they're gone, they won't be coming back. So unless they get reruns. So if you like Natsu, just get him through the event, and he'll be free for you. And in fact, you can get him up to 5 stars from the event alone, which is pretty nice. And he can be a fun addition to your team. And if you're a fan of Fairy Tail or a collector, might as well get him. No matter what kind of player you are, just get him because he's free. And next up, let's talk about the SP soldiers that's going to come in this update. So we got 3 new SP soldiers coming in. The first one we got is Royal Protector. What this does is that increases the soldier's attack by 15%. When attacked, soldiers' attack is increased by an additional 15%. Soldiers can counterattack, and magic damage taken is reduced by 30%. This is a nice upgrade for some units on the board. I can see Sonya may make use of it. And speaking of Sonya, she is one of the 5 additional heroes for the soldier, which is pretty nice to have. As for the other heroes that is going to be able to use this when you fully upgrade the SP are Yulia, Ironblood Commander or IBC, Seraphina, Marie Rose, and of course Sonya. Well, I should say Shining Resin Sonya, not the Langrisser Sonya. Next up we got a Zealot. Zealot's SP soldier skill, what does it for each buff on self, soldiers attack, defense, and magic defense increase by 15%, and this can be increased up to a max of 45%, which is the equivalent of 3 buffs in total. At the end of action, restores 20% of soldiers' HP. If you have a debuff, their healing is doubled, and one debuff is dispelled. So yeah, if you end up getting yourself some kind of debuffs, it will be removed as long as it's dispellable, and you will be able to heal much more after taking action, which is pretty nice. And the 5 heroes that are able to use the soldier once maxed out are Sapphirine, Elise, Freya, Prezia, and Rosalia. And finally, a lot of players anticipated SP Soldier, which is Sorceress. Yep, the Sorceress finally got some love in this update. And what this does, that increases, like basically normal attacks are treated as magic, which is the usual stuff for magic soldiers. The higher the soldier's HP, the higher their attack and magic defense are increased. And this can be increased up to a max bonus of 45%, which is pretty nuts. And also additional heroes. Sadly, there are no new heroes going to be able to use this. So, I mean, they don't really need more heroes to be able to use this because there's already a lot of heroes that can use this already. Doesn't make sense to add more because most mages nowadays do come with sorceress of some form. I just say magic soldiers. I mean, of some form, sorceress is probably the most common one out of the bunch. Now let's move on to the next part, which is the banners. So when I was covering the banners from the last major update, I just noticed that the one of the I just say 3 different banners did not even appear in the last update, which is kind of strange to me. So there's a possibility that those 3 that weren't showed up, or maybe it will be showed up later by the time of the recording, they may appear in this banner in this set of banners too. So just be aware of that, because Zilong is no stranger of changing things around. So let's see what this brings us here. So for this update, first week we'll be looking at Lucy and Erza on the radar banner, which is normal because for every first week is new heroes, of course. And on the second week we have Eshing and Tarantel radar banner starting on the 6th of November. And also the update starts on the 30th of October, which is one day before Halloween. Kind of a strange timing, but I guess Zealand doesn't really care about timing, so I guess. So anyways, so for week 2, it will start on the 6th of November until the 19th of November. And this will have Eshing and Tarantel, and also the Wish banner for Langrisser 125. And then for week 3, we have we're starting on the 13th of November. We'll have Isolde and Amadeus on radar banner. And then we'll have Zion, Nonoran, and Nemia on the Destiny banner. And also the Wish banner for Lancer Mobile Arc 1 and 2. And this banner will stay here. These banners on week 3 will end on the 26th of November, which is the end of the major update. And then on week 4, starts on the 20th of November. This will feature 2 Destiny banners featuring Leon, Elise, and Lostum. And then the second one is the classic Psycho banner, Destiny banner featuring Rachel, Lana, and Tiaris. And then the Wish banner on this one is Tensei Heroes, of course. Starts on the 20th of November, ends on the 3rd of December. So yep, believe it or not, we're almost out of 2025. Time flies, hasn't it? But I mean, of course not now, but I mean by the time when Fairy Tail comes along, it almost feels like we're about to enter the new year already. Oh man. Okay, next up let's talk about what events / changes to expect. Of course, since this is a collab update, there's gonna be a Fairy Tail collab event going in there. And of course, just like any collab that we have previously, I mean, I did start covering content for collabs for the last time, which was Dead or Alive 6. I'm gonna be doing this again for Fairy Tail, because Fairy Tail, I did watch anime back in the day. Not much of it, but I do know some characters from there. And I'm quite excited to cover that kind of content again. And now for the other event that will be happening on week 2. We'll have double Gate of Fate happening in this update. So if you need additional Gate of Fate's chances for 3 more heroes, this is a good opportunity to do so. As for the quality of life changes, there aren't any in this update, so we'll be expecting something bigger in the later months. Now let's talk about the confession and exclusive. So we got a new exclusive for Eshing in this update. So this one is actually a nice buff for Eshing users. I myself included, because I'm still using Eshing to this day. She is so good and flexible. And what her exclusive is a helmet, which increases her HP by 10%. The unified defense skill range is increased by 1 and gains an additional effects, and which will basically has a revitalization, which will dispose 1 debuff from the target. And if you apply Decree, you'll grant the target immunity to active skill silence for 2 turns. A nice upgrade. And last but not least, Dash, which is the act again, grants the target damage dealt increased by 15% for 1 turn. Which honestly, that is actually a nice upgrade for an act again. And yeah, this will make your allies, like whoever you act again, be able to hit harder. And the new confession for this update is Makira, from of course Langrisser Merlin and Wonder Swan. Okay, moving on, let's talk about the casting skills that we got in this update. So the first one we got is Nemia. What her casting does that, which will increase her attack by 5%, while under the allied mysterious ocean current effect, terrain is treated as water, and Lemia deals 15% increased damage Didn't we have that effect already when you applied this already? I guess it wasn't like that before, I guess, but with this one you'll be able to do much more damage. Pretty nice there. And then the second one that's getting the casting is Lugner. Oh man. You don't know how much I really do not like about Lugner. Like, he is just annoying in Apex, and he's gonna be even more annoying, but thankfully he's not that dangerous anymore because of like certain units that can block debuffs. Like Rosensteel, Ilya, if you have them both combined, Lugner is basically useless in that kind of situation, so let's see how this works. So Lugner's casting increases his end by 5%. After ending action, doubles the sin effect on a random enemy. So like, you know, every time when he applies sin, like from his like I think 3C passive, that effect, instead of giving the enemy 2 of them, instead it would just give it 4 as like as the casting unlocked, which is absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy, or maybe disgusting even. And now, before we let you guys go, there's something I want to let you guys know about. The reminder of the next month after Fairy Tail. So the next one we're going to be seeing coming to the game are the 2 characters from Langrisser Millennium Wonderswan. Sharik, I think it's called Sharik, I think, but I'm sorry if I butchered the name because I never pronounced their name before, so this is new to me. And the other character is Rapier, and they're both coming up next. And I gotta say, both are good. But, however, just like Saffron and Honorin, they're not really necessarily a must-have. So, if you like them as a character, pull for them. But if not, you can just save your resources. No need to fear of like, you know, missing out, because they will be back in the near future, of course. So yep, that's about it for this video. So hope you all find this video helpful or informative, and I apologize for a very long video because of that one character being so long on the description. So so sorry about that. I tried my best to shorten it, but I couldn't help it. So yeah, I'm gonna let you guys go now. So have a good day, and don't forget to subscribe for more.